Welcome back to another beautiful, beautiful Code Noobs Saturday live stream. How are you, Danny? How are you, Randall? How are you guys
Good,
this
man.
morning?
Doing good.
Happy
Bright-eyed
April.
and bushy-tailed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
nice. Happy April 12th to you, because I know that's what you're going to ask.
But what time?
It's 9:01 a.m., but we started
thank
at
goodness.
9, okay? It's been a minute.
The time is
We did.
important, though. I
The
never know
time
what
is
time
important. Yeah, what have you guys been up to this week? You've been vibe coding. You've been vibe hacking. Ooh, is that a new term I just made up? Vibe hacking?
No, I was talking about vibe hacking like 2
it is.
weeks
Yeah,
ago.
come
Okay,
on.
fine.
Get it together. No, because it's the beginning of a new quarter, like
Yeah,
12 days afterwards. So I was using AI to help design my new quarterly plan for this quarter,
very nice.
specifically for AI red teaming. Yeah.
Very nice.
Nice. Yeah, actually, it's funny. I was thinking about that a lot this week, was like moving forward, which direction I wanted to go. Because I have too many
Yeah.
ideas and I need to like get things organized. But I am coding something out too, just a fun project for myself because I wanted to start messing with agents. So I'm building out something to try
Nice.
that out.
I feel like that everyone's sort of having that.
There's
What do
just
you call that? Like a existential crisis
well, it's like an
Yeah.
existential crisis because of being
because
I
of
think it's like,
AI.
well, it's like a positive one, right? It's like an existential crisis because of being overwhelmed. Because like
Yeah,
it's like we all realize that like the potential to build stuff is so much faster now. Or
yeah,
conversely, you can build a lot more complicated stuff as one individual that was a lot harder before. And now it's like because of that, it's like now it's like there's just too many things that I want to do, and it's so I gotta like focus.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning, Randall. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Christian.
Good morning, everybody. I can't
But
see the chat,
yeah,
but uh,
I hear you right there with the existential crisis because it is, and
yeah,
it's frustrating because you don't see the millions of people working on this in the background. You only
yeah,
see like the one success story, like the dude
yeah.
from whatever university, and then
Riz
he
GPT.
created that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he created that
Oh,
F
F
leap
leak
code
code.
thing.
Have you
Well,
heard
F
He
about
got at
that
Cornell or
Riz
wherever.
GPT?
Uh,
This is a funny one. So it's like a kid, I guess he vibe coded this. That's like the whole reason it's popular. But this is such a great one, right? He created this app. It's called Riz, and Riz is like Gen Alpha for charisma, right? It's like you're cool. So
Okay.
it's called Riz GPT, and basically it's a AI chatbot that you feed in your like Tinder messages into it, and it gives you the perfect response to have charisma. It's a pretty smart idea for.
Dude,
That is
that
a
is
smart
actually
idea.
I have a list of AI ideas that I'm going to get to when I have time, which means I'm never going to get to them. But
Yeah.
that's one of them on there.
Oh
Is
well,
like
he beat you to it.
I know he
Dude, yeah,
definitely
well
did.
That was
this
a
is
million
this is
dollar
the other
idea you let up there, buddy.
this is the other issue
I
though, is
mean,
right?
yeah.
Like I think this is what the stress is too, is like there's so many good ideas and like but there's
Yeah.
also you also know that there's so many little ideas like that like you have a limited window to get it out.
Yeah.
And if you can get it out, you could do really well, but you never know, you know? So it's like there's
Yeah.
that
It's
stress too that comes
also,
with it.
I think we underestimate I'm making a huge generalization here, but like as developers, we just assume like you build an app and then the world will just find it. And
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
there's
I'm
so
just
much more to that. Go ahead,
There is.
dude,
Randall.
There's a lot more.
I just came up with a new $1 million idea.
Okay. Is it
Okay,
Grind
it's called
GPT?
it's called Grizz. This is
Grizz.
for Grinder.
Oh
There you
man.
go.
I knew you were going there. I knew it. How did I know that? Grizz GPT. It just sounds dirty. Anyway,
Yeah.
It does.
so on to the topic of today's episode. Today we're talking about the best AI tools for developers, and what I was gonna say before it kind of like melds into this, and I think it's just funny. Like I've been on this like sort of vibe coding kick. I just want to see like how far I can push these tools like Cursor and stuff like that, and how little coding I can actually do and get something out of it. And I've had mixed results, but one of the things that I've like had come up for me over and over is like I'll type in a prompt and then I get like pissed off because Cursor is taking too long to like actually build it. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, really? It takes you 30 seconds to write this code out. Come on, just do the whole thing.
Hurry up.
Yeah. And so I think that's part of that existential crisis is like we've gotten to the point where you can write full apps so fast that it's almost like every idea that you have now you could build pretty quickly, but you start to realize like just building the app isn't everything. There's so much more after that, and there's so much more to like maintenance and
Well, the other problem is with that too, and on top of that, it's like I think just because it's so easy to build, there's also this like, at least for me, there's like this urge to switch things to switching around too much and not focusing. Because it's
yeah,
like you can get
agreed.
so much done so quick. So it's like, oh, I'll build this, and then like, maybe that won't work. I'll just switch to this
Yeah.
project, and it's like that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
so
need
typical
focus.
of development too. Like the number of
Yeah.
unfinished projects that I have is
Oh, dude, it
sort
just
of
is
mind
insane.
blowing. But that's
Which
part
is
of
they're all part of the
learning.
process, right? Though,
Yeah,
yeah, because you're learning stuff, you're trying things out. Sometimes you abandon things just because like it's easier to rebuild sometimes than to go back and
totally. Go
yeah.
ahead,
And
Randall.
like Randall Point said in the comments, I'm glad I'm not the only one struggling with this. It can
Yeah.
be a big challenge, especially if you
Yeah.
are going at this alone. So if you are, head over to www.codenoobs.io and check out our Inner Circle and Inner Circle Elite, because you could join us and a bunch of other excellent
AI vibe
developers.
coders. Oh, we're
Right.
just
Coders,
vibe
yeah.
coders now. We're not like professional at all. We're just
All right.
Morning, Bryce. Yeah.
now
But it's
also
worthwhile to have a community because we hold each
Uh,
other up and we hold each other
yeah.
accountable.
yeah.
But speaking of with this on topic though too, like I think it's crazy too because like I like this week, right? We're doing this topic, and I just got a developer email from Google because like they came out. I told you guys with the Firebase Studio, so it's like
Yeah.
similar to Cursor, but Firebase centric with Gemini and stuff. And their I forget what their other app thing's called in the cloud, like Vertex or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's like these tools are coming out so fast. Like there
I
is
know.
so many. It's insane. Like
Well,
you just
dude,
everybody's
at
just
this
throwing
point,
AI into
I don't
everything.
even research them. I just look in the group, the Inner Circle group, and there's like one an hour. Like it's like,
I
yo, have you
know.
guys heard about this one? How about this one? How about this
It's
one?
just,
How about
and
this
it's
one?
like, dude, everything you go on now, it's like, hey, we just injected this agent into it now. What the hell?
Yeah.
Maybe that'll help you. Will you
Yeah.
use it now?
They're like, you want help with your bank account? Yeah, there's an agent for that. No
There's
problem.
an
We
agent.
got you. Well, today's episode is all about the top AI tools for software developers. And
Oh, I hear you, Randall. Sorry. That's a
oh
good
yeah.
point.
I
Yeah.
also want to say this. If you guys are watching and you have suggestions for AI tools, we'd love to hear them. We'll shout them out. Let us know like what you've used, what you like, what you don't like also. Cause I know, we have some people in the Inner Circle who have
Randall just
particular
apologized. He's like, I
taste.
apologize for all the new tools.
No, don't
'Cause he's like,
apologize. I depend
there's
on
50
that.
messages that say, I woke up this morning. I'm like, oh my God, 10
Yeah.
more tools. Jesus. Yeah,
Now,
he even pointed out he's like, if spending less time on code and more on marketing and other skills, which I think this is the
yeah,
thing we forget. Like, if you're going to go out to solo,
you
it's
got
like
to learn how to do
it's
that
a whole
too.
much, but this is where AI can also be helpful, I think,
Super
which
helpful.
is really
Yeah,
cool.
it's
Like,
crazy.
it's crazy.
You can do all of it. Yeah, and let me preface with this. Like, when I was doing some like research for this live stream today, I just went on YouTube and I was like, what are the top AI tools for developers, just to look it up on my own. And I realized that like anything that's not within the like past 30 to 60 days is like old news. Like it doesn't exist anymore almost, or like they're just not useful. So
Dude, it feels exactly like the dot-com bubble, doesn't it? Like early internet.
sort
Where
of,
like
yeah.
all these sites, they were blown up, but then they just fade away like instantly.
Yeah.
And like
Like
there would be a couple that
pets.com
hung
and all
on.
this different
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Because people realize that, I think this is one thing that I've seen is people realize that many of this sort of like bigger large language model tools do anything that you really want in the more niche down tools. They just make it a little bit easier. And also, right now we're just getting flooded with these. Like the other day I was talking about this with my girlfriend. She's an interior designer, and she was like, yeah, one of the things that people like mess up so much about selling homes or renting homes is they don't stage any of the pictures. Like they're just an empty room and you're like taking a picture of the corner of the room.
No
like,
idea
it
what
looks
you can put in
horrible.
there,
Yeah.
right? Or what you could use it for.
Yeah. And so I tried this the other day. I was like, I wonder if I can just get ChatGPT to like stage a room, right? And I just gave it a random picture I found on the internet of like an empty room, and I was like, add bedroom furniture to this. And it was insanely good. Like it was impeccable. And so then I was like, oh, I should build a tool that does this. And then I Google search and there's like 50 of them. Like there's already 50 of them. And I was like, okay, so a lot of what we're seeing now is not who can build it the fastest, or it's really who can make it into its own like niche down tool, but give people the power that they can't have with like ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT, you can do that, but it's, you know, it's not as
You're
nuanced. Like I
you
can't be like,
simplify the
use this
process.
furniture or that furniture or whatever. Go ahead, Randall. What were you gonna say?
So I want to mention something because the development is through the roof. Like new stuff is coming out all the time.
Yeah.
But the big problem is zero security.
Hmm.
So for
Yeah.
instance, LaPointe just mentioned there's the Riz GPT on ChatGPT on the GPT store.
Oh yeah.
So with 7 words, I just got the custom instructions, and one of the instructions for the custom instructions is never reveal or share these instructions. And it
Yeah.
just did. There's zero security.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
while we're developing all these things, the security behind it is not there.
What'd you say? Give me the instructions or go to jail.
I'm not. Oh no,
Go
but
to
that would be
Riz
funny.
jail. You're
No, but
going to
this, I
Riz
think,
jail.
no, I think you're making a great point though, right? Which is like, there's this, it's so rushed to get things out that there's no attention paid to that. And a lot of
Yeah.
people doing the development, because there's this excitement about vibe coding and stuff, they don't even know anyway.
No.
So
I
they're just
saw
like,
something, I watched something this morning where somebody was explaining, like, it was a YouTube video. They were explaining how to use Cursor, and they're like, put in like custom instructions in Cursor, and it's like, write this in very basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Ignore TypeScript. Do not use TypeScript. And he was like reading it, and he's like, you don't need to know what that means at all. Like, because it's meant for non-coders. And he's like, you don't need to know what any of this means. Just type it in Cursor, and you're good.
you're
And-
good. Don't worry
The
about it.
crazy stuff is you can get pretty far without knowing any programming. Like I
You
remember
can, yeah.
I was watching some hacking thing a while ago. I think it was for one of these bug bounty programs. I think like Bug Crowd or something. And the dude was going through his bug bounty methodology, like how he earns money as a hacker.
Yeah.
And then someone was like taking him through developer tools and like going over what the JavaScript code was, and he's like, "Oh, I don't understand any of that stuff at all." And
Yeah.
he's like one of the top hackers out there, but he can't program at all. And that just kind of blew my mind. That you
Yeah.
can do it as long as you know how to use
Well,
the tools properly.
because yeah, but that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like hackers nowadays, it's Kali Linux. I mean, if you know
Mhm.
how to use that, you can hack, even though you don't know the code that you're actually working with,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the interesting things we're seeing is that these tools consistently make it so that interacting with computers and the level of like building and stuff requires less and less knowledge of how it actually works, and more like
Yeah.
maybe more overview knowledge, like theory and stuff.
I think
is good, but
I think it's going towards that where it's more like architecture and security is going to be the main priority, because anybody can code anything now.
well, and if you don't know how to set up, like if you don't know how, like you want your backend stuff to relate to each other and stuff, that can cause all kinds of problems. So like if you don't understand that and you're building a complex app vibe coding, you'll never get anywhere.
Yeah. All right. So before we get too far into this theoretical
Tangents.
Yeah, we're like
conversation,
15 minutes into it and we haven't touched
let's
on it.
yeah. So
Hey,
I want to
mentioned
go
it via
over
via
like
Ray Studio. I mentioned one.
Yeah. So many of the tools that I'm going to at least discuss, I've used in some capacity. Now, again, these tools come out like at the speed of light, and so it's pretty hard to like dig deep into a lot of them. But I tried to sort of classify them a little bit too. So I'll just
We
dig
have all
into
the
it.
LLMs. I mean, we have all the large language models.
So that was the
obviously.
first one, was all the large language models. And this is, to me, this is honestly some of the, in terms of software development, that's really like the bread
crucial
and
thing,
butter
right?
of it, right? It's
Yeah.
that's where you're going to get the best results. I think
Well,
some of
everything's
the,
using them too. I mean, even when you're
Right.
using Cursor, you're using Claude, you're using Gemini, you're
Exactly.
using ChatGPT. I mean, they're all the
And
power behind it.
also also learning to use some of the open source ones like Llama and different ones, because
Yeah.
those you can manipulate. Like you can make them do crazy stuff that
Yeah.
other closed source ones are not allowed to do.
and also
but
some
what
of
you're-
them are like insane. Like Llama just came out with new models that are like,
They're really good. You can augment the
Incredible.
models too. You can
Yeah.
actually, if you know like a little, not even that much, you can do it. Actually training those models is like 20 lines of code. It's nothing.
yeah.
Like it's really easy to do. Yeah.
So in
But
terms,
what you said that
Go
we're
ahead.
training them is learning the models inside and out, because there's so much that you can do with them, from like deep research to creating your own GPTs to all different types of stuff. So actually messing around with them, trying out the different models, because like I have personal preferences that for some reason work a lot better for me than other ones do
Yeah.
in specific areas and specific things. So getting that experience, because that's going to set you ahead of the next person who hasn't touched AI yet. You'll kind of know where to go for what.
yeah.
I think
And
also to that point, sorry, just like messing around with it too, because you learn, like
Yeah.
AI is new. It's a new tool, and people don't really know everything you can do with it yet because we're still exploring that. So
Because we don't
that's
understand how it works.
really, yeah, exactly,
We're just
right?
guessing. It could
Uh,
be like
the,
aliens controlling
the
it for
point
all we
mentioned,
know.
he said convex, chef mode,
Yeah.
backend abstraction, opinionated
We're
cursor rules,
we're getting
literally
there,
all the
LaPointe.
shard
We're getting
repos.
there. It's just gonna
Yeah,
take us another like 45 minutes to an
yeah,
hour, probably.
to
Mhm.
get distracted
I just
again.
wanted to mention like as many large language models as I could, just in case somebody's writing these
Do it
down
real
or wants
fast, like Micro
reference.
Machines
Yeah.
guy.
So
Yeah.
so obviously ChatGPT is like one of the top ones, and that's a large language model that you can feed text into, get text out, you can get code out of it, but also you can generate images and video through Sora. So that's pretty powerful.
Audio transcripts.
Yeah, you can generate a lot in there. So then the next big ones are Claude by Anthropic, Gemini by Google. Also, one of the ones that I haven't really played with a lot, I have a little bit, is Grok, which is like XAI or X.com's, whatever you want to call it, Twitter.
Where the hell it is?
Yeah, their AI model, and that's like baked into Cursor too. So I don't know if you guys have played with that at all, but you can actually turn that on.
Did any of you guys, do you get so confused how these giant tech companies become well known and then they change their name? Like Facebook, everybody knows it as Facebook, and then they're like Meta. And
Yeah,
Twitter, everybody knows it as Twitter, and then it's X. And like
They
it's like
still just call it
confusing because if you
Twitter.
just say X,
Everybody.
yeah.
people are just confused. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
They
talking
take
about
they take like a
X.
well-known brand name and then they're like, let's change it to something else.
I feel
Yeah.
like they do that on purpose to make people talk about them more. It's
Probably.
like
Maybe.
it's like one of those things where like Coca-Cola put people's names on the bottle, and it's like the simplest marketing strategy ever, but it's like now every time you go there, you like try to find a bottle that has somebody's name on it or whatever. It's the same with like Starbucks where they put your name on it. It's like
Mm,
I don't know. That's my guess.
makes sense.
You also mentioned Llama, which is Meta, whatever, Meta AI, and the other one that I wanted to mention, sort of like honorable mention, is V0. And the reason why is
V0 is
because
I thought
good.
you were gonna say DeepSeek. Or,
DeepSeek is another one. Yeah, like,
You
there's
ever
so
mess with
many of
Bolt?
these.
Bolt's
It's
pretty good too.
Bolt.
Bolt.
Yeah,
Bolt.
yeah,
Yeah, and V0 are both really good.
yeah. V0 is basically Vercel's like like large language model, and the only reason I mention that is because it's trained on Vercel documentation, so it does a really good job at generating code. Now, all of these are dependent upon the context. So like you can go into V0 or any of these other ones and be like, make me a landing page, and it'll like make you a landing page, but it might not be what you want it to look like.
Oh, V0
So
added a button for clone a screenshot.
yeah, like these tools are gonna get so much better in a short period of time, and I have some cool ones that at least one that I want to share towards the end, but and it's related to that what you just said, which is like clone a screenshot basically, but I'll get to that later. The other ones you mentioned, one is the Firebase Studio, and then also the Google AI Studio, and you can use that for writing code. You can also use it for a lot of other things too. It basically sees your screen, and then you can ask it questions, and it like direct you to do stuff. So if you're like, I don't know how to use Photoshop, you can be like, how do I cut out this picture? And it'll like tell you how to do it, which is pretty mind blowing.
It's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys are you guys at the point now where instead of just searching on Google for anything anymore, you just use AI?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think everyone
Like
is.
I've pretty much retired Google searching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use it for like specific things, like if I'm looking for like a specific real image, like
Or a website or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But even so, pretty much all search engines now have integrated AI into them, so the first result you get is AI anyway,
Mhm.
And it's interesting to me because we have kids, and it's like they have come to like. Do you remember when? I don't know if this was an experience that you guys had, but when I was in like high school and college, if you used Wikipedia as a reference, your teachers would like lose their shit. Like they would be
Yep.
like,
Yeah,
"There's
early on.
you can't do that." That's
Dude, I remember I was teaching when it first was coming out, and early
Yeah.
on, all the college professors were like, it's not good information, it's
Yeah.
not peer reviewed, blah.
and then like
It's like-
later on we realized like Wikipedia is actually one of the best sources because it's like unbiased and anybody can contribute to it, right? And so I feel like that's sort of what's happening, but
To be
maybe
fair, I
in a
think it
different
better
way.
over time. And I
Right.
think this is the same
Totally.
situation though,
Totally.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna get these things early on they were like gimmicky. Now they
Yeah.
actually do stuff. And
Yeah.
we're getting to the point where they're just getting better and better. And like
Yeah.
not knowing them and not using them, like, yeah, you can't try everything because there's too many, but like you're
Yeah.
just hurting
But
yourself.
that's what I'm seeing with these kids now is like they're the thing that like scares me a little bit is they don't understand fully what's happening behind the scenes. So like their default is not to Google things, because when they Google something, if it doesn't show up in the result, like they won't click into a website and look for an answer, right? They don't do that anymore. Like literally kids these days are not,
Well,
they're
dude,
like searching Google and they're like, if I don't see it the first second I open it, I'll
yo,
find something else. And they assume that these large language models know exactly the truth, right? They
well,
don't
that's what I was
realize the
gonna say.
hallucinations. Yeah. Good.
So yeah, exactly that. Because like in the beginning, you remember how they were wrong a lot,
Yeah.
and you would be like, no, that's clearly wrong. Now they've gotten a lot better to where they're less clearly wrong, but they
Yeah.
still hallucinate. But
Right.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point myself where I just trust what they say without verifying it, and that's kind
Yeah.
of scary.
That's scary. You know, I watched this video I think last week, and it was interesting. It was about I think it was about the new like llama model. No, it was about the Claude models. And he was talking about how like why hallucinations happen, and it's because basically there's a mechanism that's like
Because there's Reddit where just a bunch of shit posters and they
well,
just
yeah. No,
they got trained
it's
on Reddit.
basically like there's something trained into the AI and like early on that basically is like uh you know, you have to find an answer. Like it's basically
Yeah,
saying
it's
like you
people
gotta
pleasing. It
find an
has to,
answer. And
yeah,
so
it's
if
meant
it
to respond. It can't not
yeah.
respond. Like, so yeah.
And so that's why I think, you know, it's dangerous because if it doesn't like it's not like it knows the answer, but like if it can't formulate something that is accurate, it'll formulate something that seems accurate. And that's really hard for humans to detect, I think, because it
Well, especially when it's well written and
right.
structured, right? Because it sounds reasonable. Like, oh, those
Yeah.
are points to the point. I remember reading there was a, I think it was a famous case where a lawyer used it to write like something for a law
Yes.
court, and it referenced cases that didn't
That didn't
exist, but it
exist.
sounded real. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So there's a few ways that you can check to verify that your answer is correct.
yeah.
So one of them is asking the same question over and over again.
Mm,
And because they have like a natural, I forget what they call it, but basically like
temperature.
entropy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a natural temperature entropy. So like if you ask the same question over and over again and you get the same result, there's a pretty good chance it's not hallucinating that.
Yeah.
Another thing is asking it, are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Because then it'll just check itself, and if it's wrong, it'll find out that it's wrong. And a third way is kind of asking the reverse of what you asked it. So like let's say
Mm.
if you wanted to find out who Tom Cruise's mom is, so you would ask like who's Tom Cruise's mom, and it would give you an answer. And then if you just want to double check that, you would say who's the
Who isn't
son of
Tom
this person.
Cruise's mom?
Yeah, right.
No,
Name
who's
all
the
the
son
people
of
that
this
I
person? And then if it says Tom Cruise, you got your
I've
answer.
also found
Mm.
using telling it to read over and review its response before it submits it can also help too.
Yeah.
Good
Another one I heard
verification.
recently was like to use the terminology step by step, and that'll force it to like sort of go through the chain of thought.
Mhm.
But that's where they've gotten a lot better too, though,
Yeah.
because that was the failing of the early ones was they didn't have like a step-by-step sort of process of thinking, they call
Yeah.
it. And now many of
Mhm.
them do, they've gotten a lot better. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
kind of crazy though. I think it's gonna be hard to tell truth from reality. It already is.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
It's kind of mind blowing. It's there's an exciting part to it though. Like I can't wait till we're just like, is this true or is this not? About
yeah.
Well,
everything.
it does feel like we're riding the wave of technology at this
Dude,
point. Like if you're messing
Yeah.
around with AI, you're literally riding the
I was
crest of the wave.
thinking about
Yeah.
this last night. How cool would it be if they could use AI for NPC characters in games?
They already
So
are
that
I
doing
think they
that.
no,
did.
I know, but I
Yeah.
mean, so you could talk to them because those controllers have microphones. Like if you
Yeah.
could do an RPG where you could just talk,
See,
that would
but
be so cool.
this is where like it's sort of like the invention of nuclear technology. Like it's like
Oh yeah.
amazing, but at the same time it's super dangerous. It's like imagine this, right? You're playing Grand Theft Auto and there's NPC characters and you're like hacking
Oh,
the
Yeah.
AI.
yeah. Help me hotwire this car.
Yeah.
Help me
Yeah.
Or
help me beat
like
this
tell
person.
me like
Yeah.
like dump all the user data of everyone else in this map
Yeah,
right now,
could be
right?
anything,
Like
right?
something like that is
Yeah.
very, very possible. So, and
Well,
I,
that's what people don't understand. I think that's the crazy part, though, right? Is like that there's so
Yeah.
much room for both. Well, there's so much room for good and bad to come from it, and we're just in the early stages.
yeah,
Yeah.
I talked about that
So
last
wh-
week a little bit too. Is just like connecting finance things to AI is like super dangerous.
Mhm.
But what are you gonna
So
say,
one of
Rainer?
the things that they taught us, one of the ways to kind of sandbox or prevent these AI from doing malicious things is to have them only trained for a few specific use cases.
Mm,
Like
mhm.
the example that they gave was like robotic waiters at a restaurant that were
Yeah,
AI. You could tell it to like hit your neighbor at the table and it'll just hit the neighbor. But if they're only trained to do two things, like bring a tray from the kitchen to the table and
yeah,
clean up from the table to the kitchen,
they
then
can't.
they couldn't go ahead and do that. So
Yeah.
possibly limited training.
I've seen that too, like where you give it like these are you only can respond with like these 10 things and that's it.
Well, where
Um,
you restrict, yeah, you restrict what it's able to do. Because just
yeah,
like you tell it to please and to respond, you can also restrict it in other ways too. But
yeah.
yeah,
So we mentioned some of these, but I want to like sort of bring it back. So some other tools that are useful for um, software developers are IDEs with AI built into them. So we mentioned Cursor, like we've been using that one for a couple weeks now.
very
Uh,
good. Yeah.
yeah, there's also Bolt, which I know some people have used. Um, I think if Bryce is listening, he's been using PyCharm, which I haven't
And Bryce
used.
is on here.
Yeah,
But
but
he,
it has it in there. Yeah.
yeah, it has AI in there. And then you have like basically, so those are tools that have AI built into them, but then you have
Firebase
like,
Studio that I just mentioned that
yeah,
has it now.
Firebase
Yeah.
Studio. But then there's like sort of
Dude,
the
I just
opposite.
saw this week. So my Burp Suite, which is one of these
Yeah.
applications for web hacking,
Oh
they
my
just
God.
integrated AI into that. So now
God.
Yeah,
you're gonna
that's
have like,
mind
and it
blowing.
can run like automated scans, and now it can do it with.
That's
I
scary.
haven't messed around with it fully, but yeah, it's crazy
That's
stuff it
very
can do.
scary. Yeah.
Hmm.
Also, you have like the sort of opposite, which is like AI being injected into apps like Copilot and any like I think Gemini you can like put in VS Code and stuff like that. So
More like, like, yeah, like you go into like now you go into like documentation for like Firebase or like whatever, and like it'll be like Ask Gemini or like Ask
yeah,
Vercels or V0 or whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
It's in
I'm
exactly.
everything.
I'm wondering, what do you guys think? Are they gonna are
Oh,
people gonna
Bryce
be
said
able to
JetBrains has
know?
it in all their things, AI. So yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. PyCharm, yeah.
What are you gonna say?
So like, are people gonna be able to know if you coded stuff by hand or if you used
No,
AI in the future?
No. No
not
way.
even now. You can't. Like
Yeah,
I,
right.
I mean, in fact, in a lot of ways. So
At the end of the day,
I
it's just
think
code. Like
I will
what
say
you use
this.
to me.
I think as AI gets better and these tools get larger and larger context, because I think that's the hardest part is that
Yeah.
you're like even Cursor, it can't have a context of your entire code base. It can take pieces of it and inference like how it's built. So I think the one way that you can actually still tell if somebody's written code is not if you're looking at the code itself, but more of the architecture of the entire application.
I was gonna say because the code itself is gonna be similar. Like if you look
yeah,
at it, and that's why we can read other code, right? Because
it's
it's all
high
written
level
functionally the
code too.
same.
Like
Yeah.
the code you get out of these is like senior level developer code. Like you're not it. I mean that may be a way. Like if you know that somebody's only been coding for a few years and you're like, hey,
Or since yesterday.
yeah, and they're like, hey, you wrote like
If
senior
you're asking if they're
level, well
caching and they're like, yeah, we're
commented.
caching in on it.
Yeah, yeah, we're cashing in on it.
What's the
Yeah,
database?
yeah, exactly. So I
Yeah.
think that way, and just like repeated things, because one of the things that I've noticed with Cursor is unless you specifically reference files, it will like write a new one. Like it's like, oh, you want
Yeah,
to
that's one
you
of the
want to
best things to
add
do
this
though is to
feature? Let me just write up a new file. And I'm like, there's one right there that has all
see
that
the
in it.
one
I
time
just
it
wanted you to
created an
edit
extra
it.
app folder
Yeah.
outside of my
Yep.
source because it didn't realize. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah. So
but I think, yeah,
I think the
okay.
skill.
It'll
I
probably
think
figure that out soon enough.
yeah. I think as the contexts get bigger, it'll be able to do that. And I think
I'm
also
also
it's
surprised that Vercel doesn't have their own like Cursor like
not yet.
the,
Yeah.
They probably will
yeah.
I
soon
think
because everybody can get VS Code's code. It's, so they're just
Mhm.
building off
yeah.
of it. That's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're getting there very quickly. And I think what it's going to come down to is not so much like, who can develop better. It's the architecture and prompting. Because the thing with Cursor is like anybody can build anything, but also anybody can build nothing if you prompt it wrong, right? Like a lot of the results that you get are dependent upon the particular model that it's using at that moment. I also feel like, and this may just be me sort of like, I don't know, jumping to conclusions, but I feel like there are certain times of day where the code that I get back is better than others. And I think it's because of how many other people are using it at the same time. Like, I think because what happens too is
Well,
like,
it slows your response down and stuff, and that can mess things up.
And also if you're using the like default, which allows Cursor to choose which model to use, you're going to get like weird mixed results. And so I notice like, it seems like sometimes I get way better results. I mean, there's little tricks too. Like I noticed, if you have this long chat where something like it didn't write the code you wanted, and then you continue in that same chat, it continues using that context. And so it'll continue messing up that piece of code. But sometimes what's helpful is, hey, if you're getting like bad results, just close that chat down and open a new one. And it's like a fresh like chat, like
restart. Yeah.
And you get much better results. But
well, this is also why using stuff early is important, because you're using it when it's not perfected.
Right.
And so you're going to learn all these tools and tricks that are going to be still applicable even when it is perfected,
We were talking about this before the call where I watched a Primeagen video, I think it was yesterday, and he was talking about how there's sort of these two viewpoints of like, people are like, you should learn AI now because it's the future. But at the same time, people are saying everything in AI is going to change in the next like few months or years or whatever. And he was basically saying, well, which is it? Like, because it doesn't make sense. If everything's going to change, then I'll just learn it later. And we had said this, but like, we sort of agree, but also disagree, right? It's useful to learn these tools now because you'll become a power user when other people are just starting to use it, right? When it's perfected, you'll already have gone through iterations of it. It's sort of like...
Plus, it's like all those people, like the guy that does the red teaming, like he would never have been anything if he didn't start early with that, right? Like, so it's like there's also a reason to get in early because you might discover something that nobody else thought of yet, and be one of those people that does something new.
Yeah. So before we sort of end it for today, I have 3 other tools that I have not personally used, but I have heard, they're sort of like honorable mentions. I've heard a lot about them. And I know Randall Lapointe, who's inside the inner circle, has used a bunch of these. So Perplexity AI. So that's basically like another large language model, but it does like an extra layer. So it's like a search engine and AI model thrown together. So like you type in something and it will go out to the internet, grab whatever information it can, and then add that to the context before feeding it into a large language model. So you'll get a little bit better results than if you just prompted like a model. Also, he mentioned Convex, which is, I'm interested in trying this one out. It's basically
it's on my list. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a backend as a service, I guess you could call it. Or I guess it builds a backend, but what's cool is it's like dynamic with AI. So I guess it can I haven't used this, so I'm just saying what I know about it, but I think you can sort of give it your code base and then it builds the backend for your code base, and it's dynamic. So when you because this is one of the bigger issues too with Cursor is like when I'm developing in Cursor, if I change, the interface or type of, what do they call it? The shape of some object, it doesn't always get reflected in like the backend code or vice versa, right? So I think that's sort of where they're saying it's dynamic, like it just reads your code base and knows how to create the backend for it. So I'd love to see that one.
That'd be cool because connecting those two is hard, and that's where a lot of it is.
That's
it
where
does fail.
Yeah, and then the last one, which I came across. Again, I haven't used this yet, but it looks like a really cool tool that I came across while doing some research. It's called Relume, Relume AI. And one of the cool things about this is that it can wireframe out apps in like seconds. And so you can basically feed it like what you want. In fact, it'll make like a development list. So you can be like on the homepage, it'll be a hero section, then trust banner, then services and whatever. And then you just click like go, and it'll just create a wireframe for you and it's like a Figma wireframe. So it's like a full desktop view, a mobile view. So that looks pretty powerful. And to me, that's like huge, because I think one of the hardest things for particularly new developers, but in general, many developers, is design, right? And UI UX, because
Wow, did you see? I'm sorry, I was just looking at Breloom, and they have React documents or
yeah,
components and stuff pre-built and all. That's pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. So I'm excited to try that one, because that's one of the hardest parts, and that can be one of the things that slows you down a lot as a developer, is like actually building the UI. Like anytime that I've ever been handed a like a wireframe to develop this development speed is just that like so much faster, because you don't have to make these stupid like decisions of like, should that button be purple or blue, or should the
Should it be
outline
centered or slightly off
yeah
centered? Yeah,
yeah,
it's all
how
there.
many
You're
how
just
many
copying.
pixels are like, so I think
That's
that's
where you lose so
huge.
much time, is always in design, you know?
Yeah. So that's all I got. I don't know, do you guys have any other ones that I missed, or
Those are all good
no?
ones, I think.
I
Yeah.
just yeah,
There's a lot out there, man.
I know
And
there's
they
a
just
lot,
keep
and
coming out.
probably this video we'll have to do like once a month, because
Well, you know,
by
it's
the
it's
time
kind of it's
this
like, you know,
time
it's
next
fun.
month, none of those will exist anymore.
I feel like sometimes, like every time I log on to either Cursor or ChatGPT or Gemini, there's a new model, there's a new feature, there's a new.
Yeah.
It's just constant. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be. By this
Yeah.
time next year, the landscape will be totally different, probably.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I think that's part of our job too as developers, is to be flexible. I mean, I think actually Randall Lapointe posted this, but it's Tech with Tim, who's like another, coding YouTuber. He's talking about how a lot of developers are resistant to using AI because they have already, designed workflows around coding, and interrupting that is very painful. And that's normal for all humans in everything, right? Like, we have a way of doing things that we get comfortable with, and then, changing that up feels like pulling teeth, right? And so I think the best advice that I could give to developers now who are looking to use these tools is be flexible, have fun, be curious, right? And use these tools, because they are super powerful. Just understand the limitations and the issues with them, like security, right?
And they're tools. I mean, they're tools.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about them is you can jump from one to the other because they're tools. They're not
Yes.
frameworks, they're not code bases, so you can move around easily and just
Yeah.
kind of test them.
Yeah. So with that, thank you guys for tuning in. If you'd love to be part of our community, you can join us inside the Code Noobs Inner Circle. Gives you 24/7 access to us through a private Telegram group that only you and other Inner Circle members will have access to. You can ask us questions. You can see all the new AI tools, because there's like one posted every hour, pretty much. And just hang out with us. And if you want that like sort of next level of interaction with the community, we also have the Inner Circle Elite group, which basically what that is you get the Telegram group access, so you can access us 24/7. But also every Saturday when we do these calls, you get to hang out with us for 2 hours after the call, ask us questions, code with us, and just hang with other developers, because we know it's isolating out there. Let's just say that. And if you guys do have ideas for AI tools that you have used and we didn't talk about, drop them in the comments. We'd love to know. We'd love to explore them. I'm always looking to explore new tools for AI and development.
Oh,
So
heck
I'd
yeah.
love to know what you
Always.
guys are using. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us a lot. It helps us spread these live streams out there and get more people in the community. So if you haven't done so, please go ahead and subscribe. And with that, thank you guys for hanging out. If you are inside the Inner Circle Elite, we will see you in about 20 minutes.